in finance news, Boeing stock is a disaster. So I'm not sure if you guys have seen a chart of Boeing stock recently. So before the whole I think it was before the first time there was a problem with the Max series jets. Because if you guys recall, there was I think an Ethiopian Airlines flight that crashed, and unfortunately, like there were no survivors, and there was the death toll was over 200, I believe, on that flight, and that was one among many other accidents that was the result of kind of the altitude control system on the Max series jets, where they coded the software badly, essentially, where there was a chance that the plane could think that it's nosediving and it would kick in and autocorrect. But the plane wasn't nosediving; it was just flying normally, and the autocorrect actually made the plane crash. So there was that issue, and then now I'm sure you guys have heard of the Alaskan Airlines debacle, where a plane that was flying, I think, from um, like Puerto Rico, or it was flying to Puerto Rico from like Oregon or something. I don't remember where to where, but there was a flight from Alaskan Airlines that had a door blowout. And basically, upon investigation, the cause was determined that the bolts that were securing the emergency door exit, the one that blew out, was not fastened properly. So, this probably is the result of some sort of process that went wrong during the maintenance process, in which case, Boeing should provide very accurate and very, careful procedures as to how the maintenance crew should handle situations like this when they need to, let's say, repair or bolt on an emergency exit. And thankfully, in the Alaskan Airlines plane, there was nobody sitting around the area that the emergency door blew out. But I think one kid had his shirt like sucked out from like he was wearing the shirt and it got sucked out while he was still wearing it. And people had their phones and their devices sucked out of the plane. But yeah, thankfully the plane wasn't at cruising altitude, or else the decompression would have been much worse. But thankfully, there was nobody injured in that accident. However, again, upon investigation after that incident, United Airlines as well as Alaskan Airlines found other jets that were in their fleet that had loose bolts. So clearly, there's something systemically wrong about Boeing jets. And as a result of all these investigations, all these things that came out where there was problems with loose bolts, the FAA has halted production expansion of all Boeing Max series planes as of right now. And I think as of recording this, they have just recertified the Max 9 series to fly again. However, it's going to be a while before Boeing can kind of repair their reputation. And I think there was also another incident where the tire on the nose part of the plane fell off as the plane was on the runway getting ready to take off. So you just have all these little instances that well, I shouldn't say little because they could turn into something very serious, but it's just they have all these incidents that just kind of stack up on top of each other, and we're seeing that with increasing frequency. It's like almost every month there's something, or not even every month, every week there is something wrong with a Boeing jet. And yeah, basically it's a big disaster. So what do you guys think is wrong with Boeing? And I'm not sure how much you guys know about the history of Boeing, and how their management structure is, or how it's integrated within the US kind of industrial complex. But yeah, what do you guys think went wrong with Boeing, and how do they fix this problem?
I can go first. So I think it's just a lack of proper regulation. I feel like all these situations could have been prevented should they have like a better process to do, all of the different stories that you were just explaining earlier. I think people's safety is definitely number one. And if you're kind of jeopardizing their safety, that's like not good at all. It's not the move. So, based off the information that you're telling me, I'm pretty bearish. I don't think I would buy Boeing anytime soon. Although, remember in 2020 when it was super tempting, but otherwise, as of right now, it doesn't pique my interest. There's other things in the market that I'd rather buy, especially with that news.
Yeah, now granted, Boeing stock is still higher than their lowest point of 2020, but to be honest, that's not saying much because in March 2020, like everything dropped like crazy. So it's not really it's not really impressive that they're higher than the lowest low of 2020. If you look at, let's say, like a 5-year chart or like a 3-year chart, the performance has been extremely lackluster of the stock. And yeah, I personally, and this is my opinion, but I do think that Boeing stock, no matter how cheap it gets, unless it really does go to like $50 again or like however low it went to in March 2020, but unless something crazy happens where the stock drops like another, 70-80% or something like that, I think for the time being, Boeing is just completely uninvestable. But yeah, Tristan, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this.
I think it's pretty clear that Boeing has some issues that they need to resolve. But I don't think they're going anywhere. So I think in the long run they'll get it figured out and they will be you know still kicking out pretty much a ton of planes because it's really not that many places that are outputting planes, right? Like that are high quality, right? So it's like, I mean, I think debatably high quality given Boeing's the last bit, but there's not that many companies that are capable of making planes. So I don't think they're going anywhere. Would I buy the stock? No, thank you. Not
Yeah,
right now.
I think the only big competitor is Airbus, obviously.
Yeah.
And then there's a Brazilian company called Embraer, which makes smaller planes, which I actually rode on an Embraer the last time I took a trip to Silicon Valley, San Francisco, and the Valley. And yeah, I mean, it's a great experience, I guess, right? Like, I fly economy, so it's not like anything like that impressive either way. But yeah, I mean it's like Embraers have really good safety records. I think there's not a single major disaster with the model of Embraer that I uh, was flying on. But yeah, anyway, so actually, Tristan, I wanted to go back to one of the points that you made earlier where you say you don't see them going anywhere. Could you elaborate on that? Do you mean that they're too integrated with the government to it's like too big to fail? It's almost like a big bank at this point, or like or they're just, uh, as you said, there's not that many companies that can make planes. So if they went out of business, then it's like there's the demand will be like will outstrip supply so much that they'll just come back. Or like, what do you mean by like kind of too
It
big to fail?
it's kind of all of the above. Like I think that they're very integrated with the government and then like the US government, and then the fact that there isn't really very many competitors that would be able to take up that demand means that it's very difficult for them to be completely avoided. And in the past, they've had reasonable safety records. Like they've made thousands of planes at this point, and had far less problems than like car manufacturers, for instance. Obviously, it's a bigger deal when a plane crashes than when a car crashes. But at the end of the day, I think they have become so integrated and so big and so influential that it's going to be basically impossible to root them out and have them completely fail. at this point.
No, the follow-up question to this is not about Boeing specifically, but about just kind of capitalism in general. Is Do you think that it's a problem when a company is too big to fail? Like,
Yes.
could there be like,
Absolutely.
should we allow big companies to fail? Right. So this is a kind of a thing that I have thought about a lot ever since the 2008 financial crisis, where the American government swooped in and saved a lot of these big banks and financial institutions that were going to go out of business for sure if they did not receive help from the government. So the argument for bailouts is that, like, hey, if we allow these big companies to fail, then that's going to crash the economy even more than it already did. And even when the government saved all these financial institutions, we still had a big recession in 2008, 2009. So imagine what it would have been if we just let these companies fail, right? So with Boeing, it's kind of, although it's not as big as maybe like a JP Morgan in terms of like impact to the entire economy, Boeing has like defense contracts and all this stuff too. So like, would it put the national security at risk if Boeing went bankrupt and the government didn't save them? So, what's your opinion on that? Like, do you just say, pure capitalist opinion is like just free markets, allow everything to fail, no government bailouts, or is there some wiggle room on that, do you think?
All right, I'll go. I definitely think that they should have let those banks burn. I'm sorry. I understand there would have been a really bad recession, but there was already a really bad recession, and all they did was teach the banks that, guess what? Big Brother's got your back. Daddy's back there to bail you out anytime. So you guys could just gamble as much as you want because you're not gonna have to foot the bill. The taxpayer's gonna foot the bill, and I think that is for one, a dangerous precedent to set, and for two, like, I don't think we should have allowed these companies to get to this scale in the first place, because that just becomes an existential threat for the country, right? So it's just
That's a good point. So what you just said about like companies just YOLOing money because they know that the government will bail them out. There's actually a name for that. It's called the moral hazard. In case our audience members need a refresher on what that is, basically it's like, imagine if you had car insurance that covers absolutely everything, even if you crash and it's 100% your fault, you still get a brand new car if you total your car because the insurance will cover it. So imagine if there was a policy like that, the theory is that you would be more motivated to drive more recklessly because you know that if you get into an accident, that your car will just be reimbursed completely, even if it's your fault. So it kind of creates this moral hazard where you don't care about the consequences of your actions because like you have a safety net, right? So that's kind of the argument. Yeah.
There's even less risk in this situation than in your example, because with the car crash, at the very least, you can put yourself at risk and cause yourself, actual physical damage. Whereas these bankers, they're not at risk. They're never at risk. You know, there's no personal risk, and there's no situation where they get punished for their misdoing. So instead of like, it's like if you're driving your car recklessly with your infinite insurance policy and you're invincible,
Yeah.
there's nothing to stop you.
It's like in Skyrim when you save and then you kill a chicken. Then like if things don't work out for you, you can just load your previous save. So yeah, like maybe like 5 of you got that reference, but